Hey everyone, welcome to Crippled Narratives, where we discuss the representation of disabled audiences in up-and-coming films of the century. Today we'll be diving into the hit musical drama of 2017 that was supposed to enlighten the world of disability, but didn't quite sit well in that aspect. You guessed it, The Greatest Showman. Now, if you haven't already seen The Greatest Showman, you must be living under a rock because this film was very popular when it first came out. We're talking 14 Choice Awards, a Grammy, a Golden Globe, and even nominated for an Oscar. The film had made over $430 million in the worldwide box office. As musicals do, the movie won people over with its catchy soundtrack and lessons of love, greed, and following one's dreams. But aside from the conventional morals, one question many critics were battling was, is The Greatest Showman really as uplifting for disabled audiences as it claimed to be? So, some background on the movie. The Greatest Showman is a musical drama that explores the life of P.T. Barnum. Barnum grew up poor, but was set on turning his family's life around after being laid off from his job. He ended up taking a loan from the bank and buying an abandoned museum. With no luck for customers, he seeks out to find individuals with different oddities to put on display for his new idea, a circus. His show becomes a great hit until greed takes over and everything comes crashing down. The problem is that the movie tries to put disabled individuals in the spotlight, but doesn't give much focus to their stories and struggles. It uses them to appeal to the idea of representing disability, but could have done so much more. They were pretty much just background characters. Now, this doesn't come off as much of a surprise, because we've seen this type of pushback in fairy tales like Beauty and the Beast. It's always the characters that deviate from society's norms that are made fun of or villainized in these narratives. I mean, we all know innocent Beauty wasn't totally comfortable with her boyfriend being a beast. But being based on a true story, viewers were hoping that this film would be different. Some of the characters in the movie include Letty, the bearded lady, and Charles Stratton, otherwise known as General Tom Thumb, though we're never really introduced to many of the other individuals with unique talents. This deliberate choice made by writers and directors shows that they don't want to bring light to disability. They're literally conforming to the rhetoric of keeping these characters as simple and underdeveloped as possible. And something that really stood out to me when watching the movie is that it actually doesn't show people with disabilities rising up for themselves. Instead, it shows Barnum as having saved these characters by putting them in a show. And to be honest, it seemed like he just wanted to profit off of them.
P.T. Barnum, at your service. I am putting together a show, and I need a star.
You want people to laugh at me?
Well, they're laughing anyway, kid, so might as well get paid.
As you can see, Barnum isn't concerned with the emotional state and humility of these people who have spent their whole lives hiding from the world. He doesn't know what it's like to be disabled, and thus has an insensitive reaction to Charles Stratton. His satirical comment reflects the harmless jokes that people claim to make towards disabled persons in literature, but we hardly ever get to see how that affects a person because disabled people are rarely our protagonists. I have an article here from the Beast Daily that explains that the movie is based on a true story of American politician P.T. Barnum, who exploited real people with disabilities for his circus. By bringing this story to light, one would expect the film would emphasize the inhumanity of Barnum's story. Yet instead, we see a plot about a light-hearted family man who is portrayed as the hero for these disabled individuals. This is anything but uplifting. The movie adheres to the conventional silence that we've seen for disability in literature. The movie was not made for a disabled audience. It actually tries to keep an abled audience comfortable by not diving into the stories of the real individuals who were enslaved by P.T. Barnum. Our sponsor for today's episode is AspireTech. AspireTech is a world-class QA testing company that empowers individuals on the autism spectrum to fulfill their potential through meaningful employment combined with social opportunity. This company provides an environment for a neurodiverse workforce so employees can flourish and customers can receive top quality service. For more information, visit www.aspiretech.org. One part of the musical that they did do a good job on and pretty much banked on as its uplifting component is the song This Is Me.
When the sharpest words wanna cut me down, I'm gonna send a blood, gonna drown 'em out. This is brave, this is bruised, this is who I'm meant to be. This is me. Look out, cause here I come. And I'm marching down to the beat I drum. I swear to be seen, I make no apologies. This is me. The words wanna cut me down. I send the blood to drown.
This song was very inspiring and emotional. It talks about standing up for yourself when others try to bring you down, and it showed a great unity and sense of family between the circus characters, which is a good takeaway not only for disabled audiences, but for anyone. And getting a song in the musical was definitely rewarding to the people who were looking for that warm validation. With over 138 million views on YouTube, the song allows for people to have something to replay over and over as a way of inspiration. But this is all we got. After the scene, nothing really changed for the characters who were battling disability. Throughout the movie, we see protests of people standing outside of the circus with derogatory signs calling the acts freaks and telling them to go back into hiding. The protests can be seen as society and literature's view of disability, where people feel uncomfortable talking about it. And the most interesting thing to me is that nothing was ever done about the protests. We see a small scene of expression in This Is Me, but we never see any form of acceptance. Barnum got his happy ending, but they didn't show any form of social improvement for the disabled community. My question now is, would it have been more beneficial if they showed the protests disappearing and the unique characters being able to go out into public without being judged? Because this movie was so focused on Barnum, we may never know. Just like that, narratives are constantly neglecting to bring up the topic of disability and teach the next generations about acceptance. We've seen movements about equality for race, gender, and sexuality this year, but who is advocating for the people who cannot retaliate on their own? Disability is something that people need to be more aware about and sensitive to. I think that media platforms like movies and TV have the power to do that if they just invest more time into understanding what it truly means to have a disability. Just this year, we saw another musical about disability directed by singer-songwriter Sia. The movie is called Music, and it is about a girl who became the guardian of her half-sister who has autism. The movie sparked a huge controversy with people in the autistic community because they felt that it was a total misrepresentation. The main character did not actually have autism, and everything seemed dramatized. In the end, both Music and The Greatest Showman failed to bring light to an ongoing issue. Despite their intentions, these musicals conform to the many other narratives that cannot help but mock those with disabilities. Thank you so much for listening to today's episode of Crippled Narratives. Don't forget to visit our resources page and consider buying our merch. See y'all next time.